What is up, everybody? Frank Macaluso here from Garageaholic. It's been almost 2 years, perhaps, since we've revisited this E31 S85, and I promised you guys that I will revisit this in some sort of a revival series, and it is beginning right now. I know that I sound like I'm a little bit devoid of energy. There has been a lot of work done on this, and I wanted to wrap up everything that was done over the last 2 years on this car, ever since that fateful day where I decided that the steering was not up to my standard. Do not plan to run these offset tie rods on this car. I have decided to basically do a full redesign of the drivetrain in order to accommodate more reliable steering. So today, what we're doing is we are starting this project back up again and in full force. What have I done since I left you guys during that day? Well, I polished the entire vehicle. We installed taillights, installed bumper. Polishing the vehicle included completing sanding the entire thing down to 1000 grit and then polishing it back up with the Perfected kit. It was a 3-stage kit. We've only done the first stage. We'll do the other 2 stages later on after the car is back on the ground. And then onto the mechanical. I mean, we've done a lot of stuff. We, obviously, you know, the main reason why we took a break here is because we didn't like the steering rack. The angle of the steering rack and the tie rods was just not what we wanted. So we needed to revisit the entire mechanical drivetrain here. We changed the steering column from an E46 into an E60, and we ended up going to custom engine brackets. I made them myself out of steel, cut them on the arc droid. We bolted the plates to the block. Then we used factory E31 rubber mounts for the engine and transmission. We gusseted them for reinforcement, and the engine has now found its new home. Once that was done, we started fresh with a brand new E31 subframe. That old subframe that I had, I mucked that up so bad that I just needed to start over with a new one. We ended up using a laser to identify the cuts and where they needed to go. Now we can install and remove the rack without having to remove anything else. So the subframe was modified to install on the new steering rack installation points, and we were in great shape. Now that the rack is centered perfectly, we squared it off, and it had the height that was maximum to prevent bump steer. Brian Diefenbacher provided us custom spindle arms, and I say custom because one of the ends for the tie rods was not drilled, and we actually had to drill it upside down so that the tie rod spindle was completely level with the car when the car was at stock ride height, as opposed to the other way around. And we ended up going with a brand new column. The column that we used is conforming to the adjustable length and the telescoping steering wheel. We also were able to install a steering angle sensor, which is going to be complemented by our DSC, our MK60 E5 setup. It's going to be a whole dedicated video on that later on in the series. And a U-joint that was custom welded to end up hooking up directly to that output of the steering column. Then we updated our brakes completely. Our brakes were completely updated. We went to a Tesla Gen 1 booster, custom setup to the firewall. It was offset to clear the cylinder head, and we installed our custom brake lines to the MK60 E5 DSC module. Moreover, the brake pedal switch was moved to accommodate the new pedal, which is absolutely needed for the MK60 E5 to know exactly what the brake is doing, and also, of course, the clutch. We then installed our front sway bar, which was a different location now. It was made out of a 4130 chromoly steel. It's in a custom location with arc droid printed 3/8 inch thick arms to the factory E31 tie rod links. Not to mention, of course, with a 1.5 inch moved back drivetrain, you have to shorten your shifter another 1.5 inches. And of course, we went to a custom shortened drive shaft. We shortened the front half of it only, another 1.5 inches. So thank you for Drive Shaft Pro for providing that custom drive shaft. Then we started working on the exhaust, which will be in the next episode. So underneath the car, before we removed the engine, what I did was I indexed a keep out zone for the chassis, and I also mocked up the exhaust collectors, as you can see here. On the chassis side here, you see it. There's this thrust arm mounting location, and I've got that tied to this piece of metal here that's tied to the steering rack. The steering rack is coming with the drivetrain because I have to avoid that as well. So this is just telling me that I need to avoid this when I route the collector. As you can see, I've got the collector also mocked up and tied to the actual engine with a bracket. So it's all temporary. I'm going to remove that. Same thing on this side here. You can see that I've got a keep out zone here that's marked by this guy. It's telling me I can't go below it or around it or inside it, and I have to work within those bounds. And that's all, again, tied to the transmission. So now we've got all that done, now we can certainly remove everything. Now that we've gone through and caught up on everything that we've done on this thing, it's time to take the drivetrain out from the bottom, roll it over, put it on a jack stand, get it up onto our welding table, and then we can start doing all of the exhaust. Really easy to do it when it's right in our face, right at our height, so it's convenient, and it'll be a lot of fun. But that's gonna be in the next episode. So let's take this down now and go to it. So that's what we did over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and we are ready to start getting into exhaust primaries at a really nice methodical manner for us to just kind of concentrate and figure out where all 5 of these cylinders are gonna go per bank. Guys, my name is Frank Macaluso, and thank you so much for sticking with me throughout this project. This has been a really long project, but I think we're gonna be moving into the final stretches very soon. We got a lot of great episodes coming up, and I'm just really glad that you guys have stuck by me throughout all this and lent your support. So thanks to the community. Hopefully I can lend a little bit of help for anybody that's looking to do a custom engine swap and how do you solve these problems, guys. So take it easy, and I'm out of here. Later.